Now I know what you're thinking. You're asking yourself, did he wax his tash and his hair just to honor Jim Carrey and this film being reviewed? Yes. Yes, I did. So one of the world's most recognizable video game characters finally has his own movie. But the question is it a total car crash like some people expected it to be and like some video game movies often tend to turn out? Let's get into it! Sonic the Hedgehog is based on the popular video game series and popular video game character Sonic the Hedgehog. He is the world's fastest hedgehog. He goes super fast. He collects rings. What more do you need to know? If you're not familiar with Sonic the Hedgehog, then maybe video games and this film is perhaps not for you. Now, I'll admit I was tempted to do a drunk review of this movie, but the way it turned out, I ended up watching this film kind of late, so I'm filming this during the day. And well, I didn't really want to start day drinking just yet. I know this lockdown has been tough for some, but I'm just not there yet. So I might save the drunk review for another day. Perhaps doing a drunk review of Birds of Prey might be a bit more apt, if I get round to that. Needless to say though, I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Sonic the Hedgehog. It was the first video game that I ever played and owned on the Sega Mega Drive. Admittedly, the video games from the mid to late 2000s era were essentially kind of taking Sonic and throwing darts at a dartboard for storylines. Sonic and the magic sword. Okay, yeah, we can do that as a video game. But I've got to say, this film actually turned out better than the dumpster fire that a lot of people were expecting this film to be when the first trailer landed. But not only that, video game films in general tend to be pretty hit and miss, and it's generally speaking quite miss. And that's because it is kind of difficult to adapt something that people are used to actively participating in and turning it into something that people are passively watching and experiencing without participating in themselves. But Sonic does seem to be a little bit of an exception in this. Everything from comics and video games into numerous different animated series. So Sonic in himself is not just a video game character, he is a character in popular culture. So it stands to reason that translating Sonic from all of these source materials that already exist into a film would be relatively easy. And that is apparent in this film. The character of Sonic, being voiced by Ben Schwartz in this film, is pretty much spot on. He sounds exactly like how I would expect Sonic to sound. And on top of that, they do take a lot of references and a lot of parts of the source material and the lore and the world building that makes up Sonic and the whole history of the character. And they do put references to that in this film, especially at the start, in building up the origins of Sonic. Good job, filmmakers, on that one for including a lot of that. And I am so glad that they changed how the character looks. Because thinking about it, if I was watching this same film and the character looked the way that he originally did in the first set of trailers, I think that kind of would have taken me out of the film. Because the real world aspect of that look of Sonic would have clashed so much with the cartoonish villain vibe that Jim Carrey is bringing to the character of Dr. Robotnik, that it goes to show that character design is really important in a film like this. And you know, it's not just about the way that Sonic looks, it's about doing the character justice, especially for the fans who are the people that you are trying to have this film appeal to. So the fact that they spent so long redoing the graphics for Sonic really speaks to the fact that they listen to the fans, and that's just a good thing to see. You know, they put in a lot of overtime on redoing the Sonic effects And it really shows, and it really worked out for the better. And the whole film is kind of like a buddy road trip comedy kind of vibe to it, where he's traveling across the country to get to San Francisco with James Marsden, who is probably like the go-to guy for acting alongside imaginary characters at this point. And it kind of goes without saying as well that Jim Carrey really sells this film as Dr. Robotnik. The performance that he puts in is so energetic and extravagant and cartoonish that it's like, yeah, I can see him in the cartoon villain kind of role. He is eccentric, he is a mad scientist, he is energetic. He spends every scene with a back and forth kind of belittling people right from the off. There isn't even a build up to it. There isn't even a, oh, maybe this guy actually isn't as bad as we thought he was going to be, and then, oh no, wait, there's a turnaround and suddenly he turns. No, he's like straight that from the off. I do also have to say though that from the look of the trailers and that shot that you had at the end of one of them of Jim Carrey going full Robotnik with the bald head and the crazy mustache, I did think the story of this film was going to go in a slightly different direction. There is already a sequel planned for this film, so that's not to say that the film might not eventually go down that kind of direction that I originally thought it might. Especially considering that at the end of this film you do see Tails make an appearance, which does give the impression that in the next film more characters will appear, and I'm truly hoping that my guy Knuckles will make an appearance. So maybe in the sequel they'll have more of Jim Carrey as the crazy style Robotnik and introduce more of the Sonic lore characters to expand out the universe. Either way though, this film was still pretty enjoyable for what it was and gave me a little bit of nostalgia feels. So, with that in mind, Sonic the Hedgehog gets 3 stars. From me. I'm not going to pretend that this is an absolutely amazing, incredible film that has super done the character justice or anything like that. I had a fun time watching it. It was a good, enjoyable watch. I didn't at any point feel bored watching this film, and Jim Carrey really sold it to me. I got exactly what I expected out of this film. It's just a shame that I didn't get more than what I expected out of it. So yeah, I would say that actually 3 stars is definitely a good start for this film, which is probably going to be the start of a franchise. And in the next film, when you see more of the characters and more of the lore behind the character of Sonic explored, that for fans will probably be more what they were after. So 3 stars is definitely a good start to this franchise. So, Sonic the Hedgehog. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Did you play all of the video games? Are you a huge Sonic fan, or was this your first introduction to Sonic? And what are you expecting to see from the sequels, which have now been confirmed? All comments are welcome in the comments section below. Let's talk nerdy. As always, if you've enjoyed what you've seen here and you would like to see more, you can click right here to subscribe to this channel and see some more funky, fresh videos from yours truly. And until that point, gotta go fast. That's terrible.